Okay, I'll give 30 seconds, and hopefully this won't go over 6 minutes. 5.5 minutes is Rabbi Blaine's rule, and I like it. And I think it's good that I'm going to, about my topic, I have my Hapanterim Hashechorim, the Black Panther shirt, and I read about the a Black Panthers group in Israel, which did cool stuff like stole stuff and gave baby bottles to kids and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Shabbat Shalom. I was at a synagogue Friday night leading a kid-friendly service for families. And afterwards, we went upstairs to eat pizza and make challah covers and tzedakah boxes. And I noticed a Sunday school lesson left on a whiteboard for Lech Lecha. So God sends Abraham to a new land. How did God change Abraham and Sarah's name? He put a hey in them. What did that mean? What journeys have you taken? Where were Abraham and Sarah going? Future land of Israel. And leaning on the whiteboard was a collage that had yellow ribbons, Hebrew, and pictures of Israel. And I'm not even sure all that was on it because I didn't pay much attention to it. But as pizza eating wrapped up, one parent with a cute little kid started chatting with me as she was heading out. Do you do the Torah Tots class once a month for pre-K kids? Yes, I do the music, but someone else teaches. Is Henry going to come? Well, I missed the first class, but I want to come to the next one. And here is where she started to seem a little nervous and said something like, how much Israel do you teach here? Well, Israel doesn't come up most of the time in lessons, which focus on the religion mostly, but Israel does come up. And then she looked across the room at that framed art with its yellow ribbons, remembering hostages from Israel, and extolling Eretz Yisrael and pretty pictures. And I noticed then that she seemed nervous about her little kid going over to that side of the room. The topic was taboo for her. She then revealed in a more hushed tone that yes, she was anti-Zionist. And I told her that the synagogue, while not necessarily pro-Zionist, was Zionism friendly. She understood. I asked her if she'd heard about a group in town of anti-Zionist Jews, and she said she had, but hers was the only kid, so there was no family or childhood programming yet. This Jewish woman was clearly motivated to teach her 3-year-old about Judaism and Jewish identity and religious school stuff. But she was also clearly worried about exposing her kid to Zionism, support of the modern nation state of Israel. At that moment, with her heading out, I didn't ask, but I wanted to ask with an open heart and open ears, what about Israel and Zionism was bothering her? I really am curious, not to argue, but to know. And I felt even more sympathy for her when I read again this week's Torah portion. In it, Abraham is similarly worried, just like this young mother, about his son visiting and learning about another place that he might grow fond of or get talked into staying in. Abraham has his servant Eliezer take an oath before God to leave and go back to the homeland to find a wife for Abraham's son Isaac. Eliezer asks, well, if a wife won't come with me, shall I then take your son back to the land from which you came? Abraham answered, on no account must you take my son back there. If the woman does not consent to follow you, you shall then be clear of this oath to me. But do not take my son back there. I do not know why that woman was worried about bringing her son to a religious school that teaches about Israel. But I don't know why Abraham was worried either. The tradition gives reasons, but the explicit text does not. I do know Abraham was exhibiting a natural impulse to worry about what dangers or what influence a place and its people would have on his kid. And that mother last Friday had the same worry. When you encounter these parental fears, as I did Friday night, I invite you to do what I did not have time to do. Stay curious, ask plenty of questions, and then and only then share your thoughts about what's right and wrong about educating kids about Israel. There is a season for hard-nosed Israeli pioneers and stiff-necked brave IDF soldiers who must fight to win in the moment. But there are other seasons like last Shabbat Eve when I could afford to be softer and be curious instead of judgmental. That mother may never want her kid to go to a school where most teachers unthinkingly and happily promote Israel out of joy and pride without providing any context or alternative views. And we don't have to carve all of that out of the curriculum because someone doesn't agree with it. But I do not want that mother to turn away from Judaism and the synagogue because no one there understood her, no one listened to her concerns, no one recognized she has rational reasons for feeling and thinking the way she does. And no one should ever make a parent feel bad about worrying about what their child is being exposed to. If worry is good enough for Abraham, it's good enough for us. Shabbat Shalom.